I'm going to loop this back around to number one, Tom, that said designate a qualified individual to run this program inside your organization. The number 9 in the actual overview from the FTC says the designated qualified individual must provide an annual report to the leadership body. So what I'm thinking here is maybe that could be myself. If I'm both the owner and sole proprietor of an organization, right? Maybe it could be you providing it to me. But if I'm in a moderately sized organization, what this is saying is I've got to give some sort of readout, right? Hey, I documented my plan. We reviewed our incident response plan. We had our 6-month vulnerability scan. We did X, Y, Z. What else do I need to include in something like this just to make sure I satisfy this regulation that's come upon me?
Yeah, so what you need to do, like you said, you covered a lot of it. And then the other thing that I want to see if I'm an auditor, when I'm wearing my auditor hat, is right. I want to see what are your plans to improve, what's the future look like for the next period, whatever, this is annual, it says annual, so it makes it easy what that period is. For the next year, what are we going to do? Also, what has changed? I think that's a critical miss on a lot of these when you see year-over-year reports.
Like I moved to O365, or I got a new system, or I bought a new dealership. That's the kind of thing that you mean
exactly.
with change.
Exactly. So then I go back to my risk assessment and say, okay, I bought a new dealership. What are their risks? What risks am I inheriting? If you're going to just put them all on your systems, that's fine. You could then say, it's still the same level of risk. But most often what I've seen is they don't just put them on their systems. They might have a key system. Again, I go back to Reynolds and Reynolds because it's the one that pops into my mind, that, maybe we'll move them from their system to that. But as far as their day-to-day operations and IT operations, it's probably going to remain the same. So, are they using an antivirus that I'm comfortable with? Do they have a firewall? Do they, these are the questions. Right. And then, like you said, if we're going to move from, say, an on-premise email server to a hosted exchange or Office 365, what risks do I now get from that? So I want to see that in the risk assessment, and I want to see it in the annual report.
Great. And then any tips on me sharing this information? Let's say I'm the designated individual and I'm just a mid-level manager. How do I maybe paint this information if it's not great? We see sometimes people having a hard time managing up with cybersecurity into leadership. Any tips or things that you've learned in your multiple trips around the sun since you've been doing this that you've seen be effective with people?
I mean, for me, when I'm dealing with the business leaders, the only thing I've found very effective is to try to quantify it into dollars.
Okay.
If the bad thing were to happen, there's a lot of calculators out there that certainly if you know someone who's done this, they could point you to that'll say, so for every non-public personal information record that got lost in a breach, how much is that going to cost me? So we have, obviously some costs that are very defined. So, you might have to do credit counseling for all these people. That's going to be a defined cost. But you have regulatory fines that are hard to define. HIPAA's a little different than, say, this because it's set with the FTC. They'll just go after as much as they can. They don't really have a defined. So I like to use the HIPAA calculator as just an example to say, okay, this is, if you had HIPAA information, this is what it would cost you. Then you also have to understand and explain to them that it doesn't end there because these people may sue you. And again, civil penalties are very unpredictable. So, what is the ultimate cost? So I need to get that through the business owner's head, and I can't do that by saying you need MFA because your group policies on your TCP/IP stack are off. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's really up to the person presenting the info to understand how to make this a business proposal and not just a technical report. And, do I have any tricks? I have a few, but most of them are based on my years of experience rather than any sort of template or thing I could point you to.
Good. Be relevant when you give the report. Use it as an opportunity to share some chinks in your program or armor that you need to get solved.